know it's only one day, but what are you hoping to see early on between Jack and Mitch?
Well, probably what we'd like to see, do they have some chemistry together? These 3 days are all about fundamentals, how we want to play, system stuff. So there's much more attention being taken to detail. So that's where my eyes go for the most part. Making sure guys are working to the right spots. We're getting through, teaching what we want to get done. Mitch is new to our system, so I'll be keeping an eye more on that than maybe where that's going with Jack. I think there'll have to be some live action to figure that out, and we'll get to that soon enough. So I'm not trying to avoid your question. I just think we're looking for other things right now besides we put some lines together to have some familiarity simply to keep camp going a little smoother. It's the games that will probably decide when to mix and match.
Bruce, how important is it to replace veteran players like Haig and Waugh with veteran players like Sissons and Lausanne?
Well, for our situation, I mean, we go into the year expectation of Stanley Cup. So younger guys, I'm not saying they can't go in there but they haven't been around those maybe expectations, pressures, whatever. They're just trying to find their own game. Where I think guys that have been around a little bit understand that where they fit in that quest, right? And I think Sissons, I mean, he's a more veteran than Nick, and he's played that role. So should be a smooth transition, easy on the coach. I don't have to convince him or sell him on anything. Lausanne's probably similar to Haig in their experience. So both those situations, I think the players understand what they're coming into and how they play to help that team get to where they want to go. So that would be the advantage of that.
Without Pietrangelo, how different is what you're asking from Shea Theodore this season, if at all?
Well, there won't be anything different in terms of how we want him to play. There'll just be maybe a little more opportunity to take some of Alex's minutes, and by that I mean end of game and maybe the odd penalty kill. So those situations, the ask will be, that's a little bit more of probably a defensive mindset. You're not on offense killing a penalty very often, and putting a game away, you have to be hard in the hard areas because they've got numbers. So that's where he might be given more responsibility. I shouldn't say might, I'm sure he will. He'll be one of the guys we'll lean on, that Alex took a lot of those minutes. So, and then it'll be taking charge of the decor. If they're having an off night or a player's a little down, whatever, be that guy too that's been around that sort of get him back in line in a hurry. The words that the coach can't necessarily always give them, and inside the locker room, so players responding to players. So I think him and Hanny will certainly, and should put Whitey in that group, be able to handle more. Hopefully they're ready to take that step and be able to take care of their own game and still kind of look after other areas, because that's not easy, right? It's not easy to always take care of your own game and then pick other people up or recognize who needs it. That's a special skill, and Alex had that, and all the good leaders do.
Whenever any team starts a season, a phrase we hear often is building chemistry. What is the number one way to do that right out the gate?
Well, keeping guys together if you can, yet in order to find chemistry, you usually have to experiment, right? So that's the challenge we have. We're lucky we don't have a lot of new guys per se. For example, the hurdle line we know has chemistry. The guy that's looking for chemistry is Marner. The guy is Sissons, and we know kind of where Sissons is going to play. So Marner's the biggest challenge. Smart player. I think that'll sort itself out. I don't know how exactly the timeline will be, but we don't have a lot of newness to worry about 10 different things. It's probably two or three different projects along the way. That's how we're going to do it.
With Alex gone, who do you think will step up into that leadership role?
Well, on the back end, we're hoping it's Hanny and Theo, simply because of their impact in different ways. They're well-paid players, and sometimes you got to take on a little more. They're minutes guys. Both of them have represented their country as recent as the Four Nations. Are probably going to the Olympics. So those are the first guys you look to because they're of their pedigree. And then you never know. Maybe Lausanne comes in and has a little bit of that too, and we don't know. White Cloud's been here a long time. Maybe he decides, hey, I can do that. So those things, leadership is a little bit guys that you don't always predict. And that's why they're good at it. And so we'll see. But those would be the guys on the back end. The forwards, I think we've got plenty of veterans up there, so we're covered. But I think within the group of D, those would be the three guys.
On the ice, what are those boxes you're looking to check, the projects that you want to accomplish, I guess, over today and the next 2 days before you get into?
It's we work from our end out, so it's breakouts with the puck D zone to defend, to keep the puck out of your net and get the puck back, so you can break out. Right now, tomorrow we'll go to the neutral zone. How are we going to forecheck in the neutral zone? How are we going to transition, revisit, puck support? That's a big part of it, the neutral zone. How fast can we play? And then tracking back into your own end. Teams play different ways, so we'll revisit how we want to protect the middle of the ice first, and then take away time and space in that order. Can we take away time and space sooner, and not have to worry about protecting the middle of the ice? So that depends how many people we have back. So those will be the things we're doing tomorrow. O-zone will be the final day forecheck. I think we need to build more offense into our with our forecheck game when the rush game breaks down. So that is a little bit of structure, but more mindset. So that's going to take a little longer, but we'll start on that on Saturday.
Experimenting with the forward lines, do you think you need to do much with the defensemen? Doesn't seem like there's a ton of different options you can go with.
Well, Hanny and Whitey played together. They enjoy playing together. So it almost becomes Lozon and Korzak by default, unless somebody pushes those two from underneath, and that's, that'll be determined through exhibition season. So there really isn't. Nabber and Theo have been together a long time. We had Theo on the left last year. We had that conversation. With Petro leaving, I don't think that's an option right now. Could it be down the road? Anything's possible. So not much on the back end. And even up front, they're a little bit, but there's some lines in place that have had success. So we're just kind of spotting a guy in here or there with obviously Mitch, who's new, and maybe that pushes Stoney to a different line that he hasn't played with. So there shouldn't be a ton of that, but results will dictate that soon enough.
I believe it's 7 games in 13 days before the regular season. Doesn't give you a lot of time to, adjust and teach and stuff. How do you go through the managing of that time that you'll have between games, the little time you'll have?
What do you mean, the regular season is 7?
No,
or
I'm talking about this preseason.
Preseason.
Trying to get everything you need to get done.
Well, the good news is we have a lot of returning players that, we talked at the end of the year about how we want to play, and you're always adjusting in this league, but there's not major things we're going through. I think it'll be more an evaluation period of what we've just been talking about, who fits with who best that we've seen in those games. And then what do we have below us that would be pushing our guys? Because that's to be determined. There's some younger guys here that may be first, second, third call-ups who are the best fits. So you're looking at that. And then obviously special teams, but we know which guys can play in the power play and which guys we're going to use in the kill. But how does that look? Well, we'll have to look at that. And that'll be part preseason. If they're all in the lineup together, that's the other thing that gets hard. So is it going to be more just in practice the last week before we get going? So that's one that's still be determined. Some of that's health, and some of that's, if we want to see 5-on-5 lines, but then you want your power play. Well, if they're on 3 different lines, you can't necessarily play them all at once. You want to balance it, and that's the league rule about, X amount of vets. So, that's something that we'll have to consider as well. So we might not hit every box we want to in terms of that, but I mean, that's fine too. I think we have a good enough group that they can adjust on the fly to some of those things.
Going back to you're not replacing, because you can't replace Alex Pietrangelo, but by committee you can, try to fill his shoes. Caden Korzak, he got a nice extension this summer. Obviously, Kelly, identified him as a player that he wants to see taking on more responsibilities. He played 40 games last season. What do you want to see from him over training camp and during the preseason to show that he can handle those minutes?
Well, I think he can handle the minutes. So he'd have to take a big step backwards to go, hey, he can't. So I don't anticipate that happening. He looks good. He's put on a little bit of weight. He's used his summer wisely. I think the thing with Caden will be regular season, can he handle it every night, right? That's the challenge now. He's a regular. He's going in the lineup. The ups and downs of that, the bounce back if it doesn't go his way, growing his game in the areas he can. I think offensively there, getting up the ice, having some confidence. There's a little more offense in him. We'll try to coax that out of him. But that's his challenge now, is to stay in the lineup every night, be a productive player once he's in the lineup every night. Alex's minutes, I think, will, you're looking at other guys are going to be hungry for them that have been down in the lineup. Now he's replacing maybe where Whitecloud was. Whitecloud's, so that's kind of the progression that we anticipate. We talked about Theo and Hanny too in certain instances. So can Corsi, hey, if he passes them, it's a great problem to have. But I think for him right now, I'm going to be a regular NHLer every night and help my team win, and then let it grow from there. So I don't think training camp, for Corsi, it's preparing himself for opening night to be that guy. We'll obviously keep an eye on him, but that's how we're evaluating him. I think we're looking at guys behind him now to say, what if we have some injuries? He was the guy before we're keeping on. Can he go in every night? Now we're looking at, we know what Ben Hutton can do, but who's the next guy? So that's where Corsi's at, and he's earned that. He's paid his dues, and he's going to be a regular for us. And until someone takes his job from him, that's how I see it'll play out, and hopefully he runs with that.
Bruce, how important are these first few days of camp for the younger guys in the organization, the prospects, the guys that have primarily been in the AHL, and just for everyone to kind of have this opportunity to be on these ice this first few days, maybe get a preseason game or two? Well,
that's what was also addressed, right, in our meeting. There's guys are here that want more minutes, i.e. Petro's minutes. And then there's guys here that are trying to earn a contract or take someone's job. Then there's guys here that want to be the first call up that are younger. And I'll use rookie camp as an example. Chaz had a real good camp, right? So he needs to go and open our eyes because we don't know the player that well. Bowman, they're both first-year guys last year that made some progress. I'm using them as an example. There's others, obviously. Brabanek, who's been around a long, is he going to push through and say, what, if we lose a center, I can come in and do it? Sapo, that's what those guys have in front of them. That's the reality when you have that much strength down the middle in your lineup. And they have to kind of be positive about that. They can't say, I have no chance because I got to beat Mitch Marner for a job. You know what I mean? They got to look at it as, okay, I'm going to show them I can play in the league if my situation, if a door opens for me. And that's a challenge for young guys because it's later. It's not tomorrow, it's later. So those guys have to embrace that. And that's just the reality of the salary cap NHL where, there's limited movement sometimes in every team. Our team just happens to be, these are world-class players ahead of them, but I got to make sure I'm the guy next. And I think that's the mindset a lot of them have to have that have spent the year in Henderson. And then once they go down there, now we're getting ahead of ourselves. They got to be the best guy so they can be that guy. But that's what's in front of them right now. And they'll get their exhibition game opportunity to do that. And I like the way they performed there. They played hard. They won both their games. The guys that we thought would be good there or ahead of some others because of their experience were. So it's trending well for those players. But now they've got another step. Now it's NHL exhibition games where you're playing against half or three-quarters of a team, that guys that have played in the league, and you got to be able to handle that.
You think that change next year when the preseason is going to be less time? You think it'll be less opportunity for them?
Yeah, I think we can talk about that next year. But one of the downsides of negotiating that for those young players is there's less opportunity. That's just the way it is. NHL guys, even though they're playing 84 games, will still want probably 2 games. So you go from 7 to 6 to 4. That limits some of their window, but hey, I just coach the rules that are put in front of me, but I feel for them as a guy that spent a lot of times in the minors because that's your time to sort of open some eyes. So,
Coach, what does Mitch bring to the team on and off the ice?
Mitch?
Yeah.
Well, on the ice, he's a dynamic player. He's a 100-point guy. He's played in big games in junior, and he's 4 Nations, playoffs in Toronto. So, but he's also got bigger goals than that. He wants to be a Stanley Cup champion. I think it's one of the reasons he picked Vegas. So on the ice, that's his, will be his personal challenge and our team challenge. Off the ice, I'm just getting to know him, to be honest with you. I think he's fit in well here. He's got he's got a young family. We got a lot of little ones running around, so I think that'll make him and his wife feel comfortable. And hopefully he becomes part of the community. I know he did some charity work in Toronto area. I don't know if it was right in Toronto. So, you know, maybe that's something once he feels comfortable here, gets settled in, he'll be able to add to the community as well. Thank you.
A combination, you and Riley, that you've played with before?
I don't think so, honestly. I definitely think it can work, especially with those guys. They played together for, for the most part, 7.5, 8 years together, right? So they obviously know each other very well, and I think I can add a little dynamic that to a line that I feel can help. So all very responsible, smart players that can make plays and make you pay, but also without cheating. So I really like where I'm slotted in there for sure.
Last year wasn't the start of training camp. We were thinking you were going to be with Carly, right? Yeah. So it's not that far off.
No, for sure. I think I only played 2 practices with him in training camp before he got injured. So. Yeah, it'd be nice. You know, he's always been kind of a guy who's kind of a do-as-you're-told guy. He just comes into the ring, puts in the work. So it's I'm excited to try and compliment him. I'm sure Smitty's the same.
Can you, when he's playing on the wing with you and Jack in the playoffs last year, can you kind of see similarly like how he plays and how you can compliment him? Like, and is it easier to transition when it happens as a center, I guess?
That's a good question. I mean, playing wing is difficult for centers. They're so used to being in the middle of the ice. They're so used to controlling the game. And he does that very well. He controls the game very well through the middle of the ice, whether that's offensively or defensively. He did an amazing job for us at wing, especially in that series where we were kind of really getting the boots put to us by the Kaprizov line. He really steadied the ship there. And for the last 2-3 games, I thought between us 3, we really dominated that line, and it really changed the series. So he has that ability, whether he's playing wing or center. But the guy that skates like that, you want him skating in the middle of the ice. So I'm pretty excited to get him back in the middle. And I love the way they were slotted, obviously, in those spots. If you stand in here, you talk about any of my centermen, I'd be pretty happy.
Favorite part of the first day of training camp after all these years?
Yeah, I just like to get out there and feel the pace, do the drills. Being a forward, it's fun. We got a lot of 2-on-1s and stuff like that, so that's fun. Good to be with the boys as well, so yeah.
How'd the line feel for you today? What stood out about the 3 of you?
Yeah, pretty good chemistry so far. Yeah, we'll just keep working on it. Yeah, but it was fun.
How do your goals and priorities change as camp progresses? This is obviously day 1, so you're feeling the pace. How will that change over the next couple days?
Yeah, I think it's like pace, and then obviously get back into the system, how we play, get that instinct back on wherever the puck is to react and stuff like that, and then eventually. Yeah, just mix that all together and then be ready for day 1.
A couple of the new faces on the team are in your group that you've been skating with. How do you go about welcoming new guys into the locker room?
Just obviously put a friendly face on and welcome them to the group. Hockey players are mostly just great guys, so they usually just fit in really well, and they're good guys, and we're happy to have them.
The last one, just going back to your line, what do you think would be the biggest strength of the 3 of you together if you stay that way?
I think we are an offensive threat, obviously, but I think the 200-foot game could be really good. I think all 3 of us are pretty good, both ends of the ice.